Hey, what's up? Welcome back to Project Freelance. How is it going? My name is Kay Anagonio, and I am your host here on this podcast all about freelancing. If you're new to the podcast, well, thank you for joining us. If you're a veteran listener, welcome back. It's nice to have you here again. This week on the podcast, I am talking to a guy that does production work, and he's also the drummer of my band Matriarchs. His name is Ben Levi, and if you guys enjoy this episode at any point in time, please do me a favor and leave a rating and feedback. Take a screenshot of your feedback and send it to me at Project Freelance, either on Instagram or Twitter, and I will send you a signed photo print from an abandoned building that I have explored. I explore abandoned places when I'm not freelancing, and when I am freelancing, I try to set my shoots in abandoned places so that I can continue to pursue my passion of exploring abandoned places. So, speaking of abandoned places, I have a book out called No Tracers, an Urban Explorer's Diary. It is full of stories and photographs from my explorations, and if you want to pick up a copy, you can go to notracers.com/shop. Pick up your copy today. I'll sign it for you and include 2 signed photo prints as well. So, I need to thank our partner, Liquid Death Water. And if you've never heard of Liquid Death Water, don't worry, I've got an ad coming for you in 3, 2, 1. From the streams of the Austrian Alps comes a new kind of water. A water that is sure to raise you from your grave. If you're tired of buying cases of plastic water bottles that contain carcinogens and God knows what else, or if you're trying to lower your waste footprint, Liquid Death comes in beautifully rugged aluminum cans. Murder your thirst with a can of Liquid Death. Check the link in the description and use code JustTheLetterK at checkout for 10% off your order. Liquid Death. Murder your thirst. So yeah, please use code JustTheLetterK at checkout or hit the link in the description and it will take you directly to that affiliate link where you can get a discount on your water. Thank you, Liquid Death, for partnering with this podcast and everything I do. I appreciate you guys more than you know. All right, without further ado, Ben, can you please introduce yourself and what it is you do to the Project Freelance audience?
Okay, my name is Ben Levi, and I run Sonic Boom Mixing and Mastering Pros, which does post-production audio, like all forms of post-production audio, from mixing and mastering to podcast editing, whatever is necessary.
So let's talk about how you got into audio in the first place. You're also a musician, and I think that's something super important that we should discuss as well on here. So tell me how you got into music, and then tell me how you got into post-production audio afterwards.
Well, I was always into production. I went to school for Cal State Northridge for like television production. So I had been kind of going that way anyway, and I've been playing music. I discovered music around the same time, around like 16, 17 I started playing. So all those passions kind of happened at the same time. I went to school for that, and then my first production job ended up being doing sound. I was doing sound for like a kind of like a TRL, but for Spanish television. And so I was just doing the fade ins and outs, whatever the music was when the show was coming back online or whatnot. That's how I started doing that.
That's sick. I love that you went to school and got a gig in production and just kind of like dove into it. One of my questions is about, formal education versus being self-taught. Can you talk a little bit about what you learned in school and what you brought to your production work versus the things you taught yourself?
Okay, so yeah, I mean, I am definitely not a proponent for wasting too much time on production education. Most of anything that I got done was self-taught and like on the job. Like whoever gave me an opportunity at that point, that's when the real education began. All the other stuff is theoretical, and yeah, there was a little bit of help, but I feel like not only me, but I feel like a lot of people that went, especially like in my generation, that went to film school. It was kind of like a deterrent because it kind of like a lot of people would have an air of like them knowing better than the people on production, and it's like that doesn't. And you know what? That people skill of not being that guy is a lot gets you a lot farther than the education. So it's mostly people skills and then just kind of picking it up as you go. I feel like the sooner you can get a production job of any kind, the better over education.
Yeah, and
That's my
I think you can probably agree with this. I wish, because I went to film school, you know, I have a bachelor's in film production, and I wish that we had done more hands-on training. Like, I feel like we learned, you know, the theories and we watched a lot of films and like did all this shit, but like at the end of the day, like they didn't put a camera in my hands enough. You know, I had to learn everything I know about a camera from holding a camera and trial and error, you know, like they were like, this is what f-stop is, but like I didn't understand what f-stop was until I actually had a camera and I could adjust the f-stop on it.
absolutely, I 100% agree. Like, film theory is awesome, and I think it's like actually it could be very, very crucial and important for like showrunners. Like, if you're trying to like come up with an idea, you know what I mean, and like you're doing the concept part, screenwriting, that stuff. I mean, it's great, but like for example, like they had a focus on directing, and it's like as far as I know, I mean, I'm sure there's exceptions, but the days of somebody coming straight out of film school and becoming the next Quentin Tarantino like overnight, it doesn't really happen anymore. Like most of the time, these guys are grinding for a decade, doing all the grunt work as far up the below the line as far up as it can go, and then finally they get in the union or whatnot and start getting that
Yeah.
into that situation. But it's like a time thing. It's not and a work thing. It has nothing to do with what you know or any like what you could learn at school. It has to be an experience thing.
Absolutely.
So like, yeah, I agree with you as far as that's the funny thing. It's like they're charging you. I mean, where did you go to school?
So I went to SAE Institute.
Okay.
So they're based out of Australia. I studied in Dubai and then moved to Australia, but they also have a campus in LA, New York. They've got campuses all over the world. But yeah, that's where I went.
I mean, it's kind of awesome that you went to school in Australia.
Super cool.
That's an experience in and of itself,
Yeah.
But regardless as to what it did for your career or whatnot, it's still an awesome thing. But like, for example, you got people that, like I went to a local school, state school, whatever. And, they're charging you tuition and you're not getting the real education you need. Because the fact is, it's like, it's not in the budget. Like they couldn't give access to like 100 kids or 200 kids, which is what, they were entertaining at my school. They couldn't give everybody time with a camera, enough time to figure it out. You know what I mean? So you're better off spending that money on a camera and just reading about it and like testing it out. You know what I mean? And spending time doing that.
Oh, 100%.
That's where the skill comes from. It's like if you could get a great shot and you know how to do that every time, then that's the skill.
Yeah.
That speaks for itself.
Yeah, and like the one thing I'll say, going to school in Australia was super cool, but I lived in Western Australia, which is like the most isolated city on earth, and in Perth. And so we didn't get to study film, like actual film cinematography on film. We did everything digitally because the year previous to us, they did their projects on film, like their final projects were on film. And when they went to mail out the footage across the country and get it developed, because there was nowhere in Perth that could do it, so they had to send it across the country, and then on its way back it like wasn't refrigerated properly, and so all the film got burned, so all their final projects were completely destroyed. So they just decided like, well, we're not gonna do that with you guys. You'll just learn digital. So like I've never used film before, and like I feel like I missed out on this huge opportunity to learn the techniques and the skills to do that kind of stuff and like that experience.
Have you shot on film?
I've never shot on film.
Have you been on a shoot where they're shooting?
No,
film?
Every shoot I've been on has been digital. Every single one.
Well, it's overrated. It's a pain in the ass.
Oh, for sure.
I've done both, and like, it's just more it's like less turnaround time. You know what I mean? It's like, they give you the numbers, I think, in the textbooks. It's like you can get something like 15 pages done in a day.
Yeah.
Digital, but like 2 on a film. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
It's like crazy how like, and it's so finicky. You know what I mean? Like you got the guys that were. I was watching this movie that was shot on film. Karate Kid. I watched Cobra Kai, and then I was like, oh fuck, I'm gonna watch the originals, you know, and there are these beautiful, like panoramic nature shots in these movies. Like I don't really see that anymore. Like more people are more focused on like the CGI when it comes to the view of things. You know what I mean? They like more of a fantasy look, but like these are just these clean, beautiful shots. It's like the amount of time and effort spent on like one shot is just unreal compared to now where it's like people are just burning through as many pages as they can quick. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's just a different world now.
Yeah, I feel like people that shoot on film have more of an appreciation for what they're doing as well, you know? Like when you're shooting digital, you could do the same shot for an hour, you know, just over and over and over and over again until you get it perfect. But with film, you have to be coordinated. You have to be like on your game.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, I don't want to say it, but I want to say that like it was a different kind of expert.
Yeah. 100%.
Different level. You just couldn't afford to fuck up the way that you can now.
Exactly. No, it's so true. You know, it's like, it's crazy to see the difference between those worlds. I do have friends that shoot on film, and I recently had Josh Schrader, music producer. He's done King 810, The Art is Murder. He's done a bunch of heavier bands as far as like music production goes. And he shot one of King 810's music videos on film, and he kind of like, he was like, oh, I want to give this a shot, see if I'm like good at it. And it came out great, but he was like, I'm never doing that again. Never again. Just because it's such a task to shoot on film.
Yeah. I mean, I was not even an AC, so it's like, but I just watching the I think I AD'd a film shoot. 2 actually. And they were both, it was just the amount of time that it took to set up the shot and then have to stop because you got to change roles. Mm-hmm. That's another thing. Like, yeah, no, it's just, and once you burn it, it's like, that's it.
Yep. That's all you got.
I guess you could do, I mean, there's a lot of color correction you could do.
True.
You can do a lot of stuff.
True. But yeah, that authenticity of the film is totally different than digital, I think.
And I wonder how malleable the footage is because I've never done it. I've never like taken film and put it in Premiere and mess with it. Right. Like I don't know how receptive it is to, you know, post-production butchery that gets done now.
Yeah.
You can clean up anything almost these days.
Oh yeah, definitely. And thank goodness for, you know, programs like Premiere and, you know, Final Cut, whatever people are using out there.
Absolutely.
So more on audio production stuff. So how long did it take you to get to a level where you were like, you considered yourself like a professional? I mean, obviously being a professional means that you're getting paid for your work, but sometimes, you know, people starting out, they work for a lower rate. And like you said earlier, you work from the bottom up. How long did it take for you to like find your value and your worth?
Man, it's, you know, it's a journey every day to find my value and worth. No, I'm just kidding.
I mean, you're not wrong though. I feel you.
No, but I mean, I think it was what it was how can I offer something that I'm super confident that I can just deliver every time in like a way where I know that 90% of the time people aren't going to send it back. Like I think with a business mind, and when I used to approach music and even film production, whatever, anything, because I'm getting back into that too. When I did it the first time, I was very artist focused. It was very like right brain, everything. And given the fact that I'm a business owner and like I did well in that, but it had nothing to, well, I mean, I'm a ticket broker, so it's like live entertainment, but it doesn't really have much to do with the artistic side of things. And when I learned the business side of things and how kind of universal certain principles are, I started rethinking my passion, like the passionate stuff. And so now I'm kind of on this level where I'm like, okay, well, what can I offer a customer that like they need, that they're going to like think is clutch, and that, you know, like they're going to be happy with that product over and over again. It's just like, once I had that, then I was confident. I mean, it all clicked after that, but I had to go through this whole journey of business before I got there. So I don't know if, you know, I'm a great example.
No, I mean, I love that though. I love that, you know, you learned and studied the business side of things. I think that that's so important. And a lot of people overlook that part of it, you know, like going back to what I learned in film school, you know, we only did like a month of business training, and I wish we had learned more about how to operate your own business as a freelancer, because mostly what they were teaching was how to be on set, like how to be a part of a crew, like a production house kind of thing. And so I didn't really learn how to be a freelancer, and I had to teach myself how to do that. I just had to do it trial and error and fail a lot before I figured out how to do it.
Survival.
Yeah, exactly.
Go in the deep end and figure it out.
Yep.
And you did.
Yeah.
No, and that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, like, freelancing was not even a topic. It was not even a topic of discussion. You know, like we had this conversation, like not on record or whatever, but I was telling you, you know, back in the day, you were considered lucky if you got a PA gig where you weren't getting paid.
Mm-hmm.
That was the goal for the first 90 days, first year of you know, putting yourself out there. And so, like, productions were just taking advantage of people, like, over and over again, because it was just a cycle of nothing. It's like, yeah, maybe you'd get considered for another gig that got paid, maybe, but I don't know, you'd have to impress people a hell of a lot to for that to happen. You know, it's like these days, like, the culture is different and everything. It seems it's different, but I think in a good way. Before I felt like it was very I don't know how to say it, but like exploitive or whatever. It was exploiting people because people had dreams of, like, you know, working in film and production and stuff like that, and they were just trading, you know, these 12-hour days, 16-hour days, and working for free.
Man.
You know, and then nothing would come of it.
Yeah.
That happened to a lot of people.
Yeah. And, like, what was it like for you being in LA, you know, doing production work? And, like, because I mean, I obviously started elsewhere. I started in a different country. So I came to LA to, like, pursue this kind of stuff. So what was it like to, you know, kind of come up here?
Well, the opportunity is here, and it's like everybody, like, growing up here had its advantages for sure. I mean, just knowing people that worked in certain industries and whatnot. You know, it was not hard. It's like 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon. Like, it was not hard to find somebody that was a shot caller even. Unfortunately for me, like, coming from, like, a punk, you know, fuck you attitude, it doesn't really jive. And, like, that's another thing that, like, again, like you said, you know, the business side of everything, you know, the business part is not really wasn't really focused on for me or for you, you know. And it's like, that's a business thing, to understand, like, how to work with people and, like, understand, like, motivations of different, you know, the different people that you're going to be dealing with, and how to, like, work with that to make it work for you. That's an entire education.
Yeah.
that people definitely need, especially in an industry where it's all about networking.
Mm-hmm.
You know, people take on, like, when people set up productions, like, they hire the people that they like working with.
True.
You know?
Yeah. No, you're so right. You know, it's literally about who you know. It's not like people say it's about what you've done, but, like, here it's really about who you know. You know, it is about the networking process and getting yourself out there and meeting people.
Yeah. I mean, there is I'm a firm believer that the work will speak for itself. Mm-hmm. But if you're going to be one of those people the work's going to speak for itself, and you're an asshole, the work has got to be tremendous. You know what I mean? Right. It's got to be on some level that I have never achieved and I've never seen. So you're better off just, like, learning, you know, the importance of networking and, you know, all that stuff that, you know, it's important.
Yeah.
And I think that they don't focus on it at all, nearly enough, you know, when they're trying to educate people on an official level about this business, for sure.
Yeah, you're completely right. They don't educate you about networking, and it's, like, the number one thing that you really need to know to make it.
Crucial thing.
Yeah, it's so crucial, you know, and that goes across any industry, not just, you know, film production. That goes to music production, that goes to you know, any type of freelancing work. Networking is massive, and I wish, like, if there's one thing I could go back to my teachers or my professors and tell them is, like, why didn't you teach us about networking? Like, that's the one thing I needed to know, especially moving to California. I knew 2 people out here when I moved here, you know, like, I had to do everything from zero. So what did I do? I was like, I want to be a music photographer. So I moved down the street from Chain Reaction and started going to shows and started shooting shows because they would let me bring my camera in the venue. And that's how I started networking. I just started meeting people and talking to people, and one thing led to another. I started going on tour with bands. I started, doing more covers and doing more collaborations and just network. And I wish they had taught me that in school. I feel like I wasted so much time in school not learning the proper things I needed to know.
I feel like it's an overall cultural and mentality thing in the United States, though, as well. Or maybe not only in the United States, but since you went to school in Australia,
Right.
but maybe a Western thing. But,
Yeah.
like this is like what you just described right now is the essence of Eastern philosophy and, Buddhist principles. Like, do what you love.
Mm-hmm.
Like, don't worry so much about paying the bills. It's like work on doing what you love, because if you keep doing it, you're going to get good enough that once you become a master, you're going to be able to ask for money for it.
Yeah.
It's you just got to stick with it. But like, there's not really that kind of mentality out here. So it's like, you got to find a job, okay, and you got to pick a career, and you got to go to a school to learn that career. And it's like, well, with production, I don't know about you, but when I was growing up, production was not like something that was like considered something steady. Steady is
Yeah.
like a doctor, a lawyer, this kind of shit.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
so you're already off the beaten path. You're considered going off the beaten path just by picking production, because it's kind of an art. It's an artistic thing in pursuit, at least for some. For the people that are business minded, and they go up much quicker if they're business minded, and they're just like, I want to do it because it makes a bunch of money.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, they go through the system, and lo and behold, because they're focused on business, they succeed in business because it's a business.
Yep.
That's the trick. It's a business, but it's based on art. So, yeah.
And then how do you come across your like clientele? Like how are people finding you? Is it through social media, online? Like how are people finding you?
So yeah, basically with the business, the thing that I started looking into was what the quality was for like mixing and mastering, because mixing and mastering is something that can be, for the most part, engineered to be delivered pretty quickly and in an automated way. And then once that first pass is given, the client can give you notes, and you can dial it into exactly what their specifications want. But you can have like a starting point right away, and it makes it easy to set up something like with quick turnaround. So let's say like you're an artist and you want to get a song done and you have a limited budget, you can go online. You don't have to find some big name guy, or you don't have to like, pay a bunch of money. You can just go online. There's a bunch of sites that do it, but what I was seeing about them is that they weren't very good. And I think that they're not very good because it's fully automated, and that's like kind of the difference between what they do and what we do. Is it's automated to well, first of all, everything's done by hand, like at first, but we have templates of every kind of music that we've done at this point because we've had so many clients. We're able to kind of develop like a kind of a template that we can deliver, so that we get adequate notes back from the client, so that we can really tailor fit a really good mix and master for them that they're really happy with, and it doesn't take a lot of time, so therefore we don't have to charge a lot of money. So it's like something like I'm working on. It's like, very basic business principle, with the best quality product at the lowest possible price, something that people might need. And I know I needed it. My business partner is Brandon, and I used him over and over again, and we started thinking about like, what we could do with it. So we decided to go into business together. I'm more the business side of it. He's the engineering side of it.
Yeah, no, I love that you brought somebody in to, work on this with you. I think that it's great to have a team around you. Can you talk about the importance of having a team and working with somebody else and not just carrying all this weight and all this burden on yourself?
Oh yeah. So there's, yeah, I mean, being able to singularly focus on just a few amount of tasks is kind of priceless. When you're running everything yourself, doing everything yourself, something is going to get missed because there's just so many components to, especially, I mean, specifically with running a business, there's just so many components to running a business that it actually is working against you if you don't delegate. The people that succeed are the people that delegate work. That's why they have employees, and those employees are earning a buck, but they're also making the person they work for a significant amount of money as well. That's sort of the goal, is like the people that are not able to like let go of that control and trust in other people. It's like it ends up biting them in the ass, because it's just, there's holes in your business at that point, because it's like there's not enough time in a day for one person to be handling everything to the max, to the best that it can be handled. So better, like Brandon gets plenty of work, but his work is word of mouth, so there's a limitation to that, whereas I come from a big business marketing standpoint. I'm used to spending, in tickets, they spend something like, 10 million, I think, a month in advertising.
Jesus.
So I'm part of that,
wow,
that culture.
Wow.
So I'm like, but it comes back. It's money that comes back. You know what I'm saying? So from that marketing perspective, it's like, well, okay, you've got your thing going on, but we could do something that we can do to the masses. You know what I mean? Because it's like, obviously, as a producer and as an engineer, if you want the real experience, you can do that. You go to Brandon for that. If you want something that you don't, if you don't have the budget for that, if you're an independent band and you're just trying to get a good sounding mix and not break your back, you can come over to this side. You still get you get the same thing. The only difference is obviously is with producing, there's a lot of composition involved in that. There's a lot of influence. So like, the producer will listen to it and be like, well, why don't you try playing it like that? Obviously we're not doing that. It's all post-production.
Right.
On our end.
Gotcha. So when somebody, like, for example, if a band comes to you and they have a song that they want to work on, say they send you a demo and they're like, hey, do something with this. Talk about that process. Like, what's the process from beginning to end when you guys get a piece of production to work on?
So it depends on depending on the situation, some bands will come to us and it's straight mixing and mastering. They have everything done. Everything is already stemmed out properly, and they just send us a zip file. They give us some samples of things they want it to sound like. We send them a mix. They tell us what they think, what they want us to change. We do that, and we deliver it. It's very straightforward. That's like the chillest thing in the world. It's basically the closest thing to like, McDonald's transaction, very simple. If a band can come to us with demos of, like unfinished material, riffs, I've seen everything. I mean, I've helped people come up with stuff from the bottom up. So depending on what it is, they come to us, and the process would just be like an email. We discuss, what kind of time it's going to take depending on where the project is. And if they agree to that, then, we work on it until they get what they're happy with.
And then out of curiosity, do you guys charge like hourly, or do you charge per piece? Like what do you guys charge for or by?
We do different things. It depends on the person because of their budget.
Yeah.
So like sometimes it depends on what the length of the project. Like if they're just looking for one song, it depends on. So we'll price it according to like how we can do it a couple different ways. But a lot of times I like to do it just charge per song.
Yeah.
That way nobody's worried about the time, because it's not about rushing anything anyway. This music thing takes time in general. It takes time to track, takes time to edit tracks, takes time to comp them, it takes time to do all kinds of things. So it's better to go with just doing it per item. So I like doing that, but at that price initially might seem heavy. Mm-hmm. And people don't want to do that, so they're like, "Oh, we'll do it hourly." Okay, we'll see how that goes.
Yeah. It might just take you more time hourly, though. So yeah, it just depends, I guess, on budget. I mean, I'm the same way. It depends on their budget whether we go with an hourly rate or if we do like a full rate, if you will. It just it depends. It's different for every project, and so it's always cool talking to other freelancers that go based off of the budget. I think that helps a lot of people when it comes to production work. So it's cool that you guys do that based off budget. And then, so for music, let's kind of switch gears to your music, the stuff that you write for your own bands. Talk a little bit about Cutthroat, Matriarchs, and talk about your Fate Destroyed, all the projects you're a part of.
Okay. Yeah, I play drums in Fate Destroyed. I play drums in Matriarchs, which you are the singer of. And then I play guitar in Cutthroat. And they're all on the heavy side. Matriarchs is more on the, I would say, kind of traditional metalcore, new metalcore kind of thing. Fate Destroyed is a little more on the commercial side. It's has an industrial programming kind of modern twist. And Cutthroat is just old school hardcore. It's just, well, it's not old school. It's kind of crossover. It's got lots of different elements, but to me, it feels like a hardcore band.
And then how do you manage all these projects at the same time? Like you have a production company. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Go ahead.
Communication is key. For me, I just have a rule I set for myself a long time ago. It's kind of like really been working for me is I don't ever promise anything I can't do. And if I say I'm going to do something, I make sure that I'm doing it. Otherwise, I just don't say anything. So with that in mind, that, you know, everybody that I work with kind of knows my situation. Thus far, there have been no conflicts or entanglements. We just work things out. We have, like I said, there's an importance of a team. There's been times where I've been on tour. I was on tour with Cutthroat, and Fate Destroyed had a show. Luckily, you know, we have a nice network of people that we trust, especially for the drumming position. The drumming position I actually inherited from Josh Alves, who is currently in Rivals. He kind of tapped me to play, and you know, he fills in from time to time because we still have a good relationship with him, and you know, he's family. We've also had other fill-ins as well. I'm not sure of their names at the moment because they weren't. Davier Perez. He's also filled in for us. We have like a network of musicians that we work with, just from doing this for so long. So, like I said, it's like if it's a conflict, you know, it's my responsibility to figure it out. So I just decide what's going to work best and then go with that, you know.
Yeah. And I think scheduling is
always
important.
Taking responsibility for it.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
It's always my, you know, yeah.
Love it. Yeah, I think it's great that you do you're so diverse. You know, you play guitar, you play drums, you do production. I think it's cool that you're in different pockets of the music world and the production world. And it just allows you to take on these different outlets that you love to do and pursue. So what have you been doing during quarantine since we can't tour right now? Like, what have you been up to?
I mean, this has definitely been my most productive music year. Just been cranking out tunes for all three bands. We have cranked out pretty much the remainder of Year of the Rat this year with you, but also musically I did a lot of that this year. And then we've done a lot of stuff that we haven't released yet that I worked on this year. And then I helped out with the full length for Fate Destroyed, and I helped out with the full length for Cutthroat as well. About half. I think I wrote about half of that record. So that's I got a lot of shit done. I feel good about it. I'm proud of all of it. I think it's like the best stuff I've ever come up with. Just, you know, working on heavy music in general, or coming up with a different, you know, way of communicating these very familiar emotions. So it's been pretty cool. But yeah, that's been my story with the pandemic for sure.
I love it. I love that, you know, freelancers have adapted the quickest to this tribulation of a year. I feel like we've been able to take on more projects and get more done. You know, like you approached me about matriarchs, and I was like, well, I have nothing but time, so why don't we just dive into the deep end, like we said earlier, and just write some music and work on some music. And so I'm super stoked about what we're doing, and Year of the Rat comes out in October. Super excited for that. And if the audience wants to hear it, where can they go? Where can they do pre-orders? All that kind of stuff.
Okay, yes. Matriarchs.bandcamp.com. All the stuff that's come out so far is going to come out there. If you want to pre-order the record, we're doing it through Cold Cuts merch. So it's just coldcutsmerch.com/Upstate Records. Our record's coming out through Upstate Records and Blood Blast distribution, as well as my own independent label, Knuckleheads Inc. Yeah.
Awesome, man. And my last question for you is, what is something you know now that you wish you knew when you started all of this?
The most important thing, the most efficient use of energy to get everything that I want or that anybody wants is working on that thing that they love. So that means, working on your instrument, don't worry about getting signed or being in the right band, or work on your instrument, like work on being amazing, and everything else comes to you with that work.
Awesome. And if people want to work with your production company, or if they want to maybe hire you for session playing guitar or drums, how can they find you? How can they get a hold of you?
You can hit us up at should I give them my email?
Or website. Email or website is good.
Oh yeah, 5ringsproductions.com.
Perfect.
That's probably the easiest way.
So that was my podcast with Ben Levi, my drummer for my band Matriarchs. If you guys want to check out Year of the Rat, you can pre-order it. Down below in the description, there are some links for you guys if you want to pre-order it, or if you want to listen to the singles that are out now on Bandcamp, you can do that. I also put our Spotify down below. And if you guys want to get a hold of Ben for any production work, 5 Rings Productions, definitely check out his links below. Thank you guys for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please do me a huge favor and leave a rating and feedback. And like I said at the beginning of this episode, I will send you a signed photo print. If you enjoyed this, share it with somebody. Share it with somebody in productions. Share it with somebody that is a freelancer. And if you want to be on the podcast, if you have some stories to share, I would love to hear from you. Hit me up at contact@justtheletterk.com, and we will get you on an episode of Project Freelance. I will talk to you guys next week for another episode. My name is Kay Anagonio. I'm your host. Stay strong, keep enduring, go out, and go create something.